Today I watched something that I think I regret watching it, or I'm grateful that I watched it. Why I feel this way is because just this week, early this week, if it was not Monday, I was having a discussion with a group of intellectuals. Yeah, South Africa's finest intellectuals. And we were talking about the Constitution, the reform of the Constitution, and we were trying to understand what is the delay in the constitutional reform. Last year, South Africans were invited to submit public comments on the constitutional review, and many South Africans did so. I submitted, I came to you guys and I was just drumming it into you guys that this is very important for us to do because the constitution of this country seems to be the enemy of the people of South Africa. Now, I've shared with you before that back in primary school, just when we entered democracy, I was at this point, grade, what grade was I? I think it was, I can't remember. Grade four, I think. This is primary school. And we were given every single year, and you needed to have it in your backpack. The Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. It needed to be in your bag. Every Tuesday at 11 a.m., we used to go to every class had a library corner. So basically, a library corner, it will be a corner in the classroom that has a mini library. It had a carpet, it had those nice, comfy little chairs that fit like small bodies of fourth graders or something like that. And we would sit quietly and we had to read the Constitution. They focused a lot on the preamble because we needed to understand the mission of the new South Africa. No, I'm lying. We got this in 1996. I was in grade six. In 1990, now I remember, it was in 1996, like September, because it went on in 1997. When we got to high school, I thought we were done with the Constitution. No, no, we were not done. Mind you, these were your Model C schools. It's still very few black kids here and there. In mine, I was the only one with my older brother. So every 11 a.m. on Tuesdays, we needed to learn a section of the Constitution, and then we'll do orals. Yeah, orals about what did you read and what did you understand the Constitution to say in a particular section that the teacher chose for us. And I've always known that there was something not necessarily correct about the Constitution, but hey, you're a young kid, you're blasé, life is just life, and who cares about this sort of thing? But as I grew older, and as I'm growing older, this has never left my side, ever. When I lost my copies before, I went absolutely nuts. Now, here's the thing that I think many South Africans do not know. Did you know that every government department, including parliament, legislatures, and city councils, need to have copies of the Constitution displayed in the lobby, whether it's a reception area or a lobby or something of that nature, where South Africans can walk in and collect themselves a copy of the Constitution? I've hunted down this Constitution for years until I went to Parliament one day and I was like, hey, here's a copy that I've been looking for. This very copy, I got it in 2022 when I was in Parliament. I went for some sort of a sightseeing thing. And I took this, and in fact, I took two because I was trying to be smart, only to find out the other version, I think it was Paddy, It was written in Pedi. And fortunately, I got the English one. I've had this with me. It's almost also showing signs that, excuse me, we need to get a new one. But the point I'm making is the government stopped or discontinued to distribute the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa because they had a sinister agenda. How many South Africans today, you can write in the comment section, that knows the Constitution of the Republic? But I can tell you there's no kid in any democracy that does not know the Constitution of their respective countries. If you go to the United States, the most patriotic country on the planet, everybody knows the Constitution there. So much so that if there is a hijacked plane and America finds out if there's an American in that flight that is hijacked, and if indeed there's one, just one, the United States of America will start making threats to the airline of that particular country to make sure that whoever is holding the American, everybody disappears. They focus on the American. And that's how Americans get saved. And why? Because of patriotism. Their patriotism derives from their Constitution, Declaration of Independence. Why us? We don't know anything about our Constitution. That's because they hijacked our power. In South Africa, the Congress of the People met in Kliptown in 1955 and came out with a document called the Freedom Charter. The Congress of the People, I'm not talking about the political party, I'm talking about the event that took place in 1955. It was of all caliber of South Africans, black, white, Indians, and colored people. And they all said everything that is on the Freedom Charter. I think it's 6 or 7 things that are on the Freedom Charter. The opening line of the Freedom Charter is that the people shall govern. The people's will is enshrined in the Constitution of this country. The will, maybe I should put it this way, the power of the people is enshrined in this Constitution. That means you are the dog that wags the tail. It's not the tail, being government, that wags the dog. But what did they do? Because they are the tail and they hijacked your power, they are wagging the dog. I was listening to the minister in the presidency. In as much as I agree that, because I don't promote or condone violence under any circumstances, I don't care what you are crying about, I do not support it. I do not support looting. Looting is stupid. It's pointless. It just makes matters even worse for you who is crying about something. You need to be smart when you are picketing, when you are protesting, that do not touch anything that is going to discredit your cries. And that's what the government banks on. But they need to sound responsible. Like the minister in the presidency, Ms. Chabeni, today said, there will be no shutdown in this country. But now, what is the definition of a shutdown? Because that's not violence. She opens her speech by saying South Africans have a right to protest. Shutting down the country is a form of protesting. By saying you are not listening to us, we will shut everything down until you listen. Governments anywhere around the world do not like it when the citizens come together because there are consequences for the government. And I mentioned in my previous video that the economy suffers. When we go on a public holiday, South Africa loses about 10 billion rand in that public holiday. Now, can you imagine South Africans protesting for just 5 days, even not 5 days, 2 days? That's 20 billion rand gone down the drain. And the government cannot afford that. So what the government will be forced to do is to hear what the people want and implement what the people want. So she's coming to act tough. There will be no shutdown in this country. This is her hijacking your power, the will of the people. She's the tail wagging the dog, not the dog wagging the tail. So today, this is the purpose of the video. So today, they, like I said, I'm not sure if I'm regretting it or I'm thankful that I actually witnessed this. And my biggest fear, as I'm growing older and more understanding, I realize that this book, whoever put it together, made sure that South Africans' hands and the courts of these countries' hands are tied, like tied. Why? Because in the parliamentary, I think it, what's it called again? It was a joint sitting of the Constitutional Review Committee in Parliament, finally decided they are going to have the initial conversation. I think today was more like lawyers advising the committee on the submissions. And so they gave a sample of some submissions, and the common denominator was the preamble of the Constitution, including Section 27, which goes along with health and food and all that stuff. School, yeah, school as well. I think Section 29 as well was submitted by somebody. And I remember very well having a conversation earlier this week with intellectuals. And I said, guys, do you know how difficult it's going to be to amend the Constitution? Especially, let's say, I gave an example. Let's say we focus on a certain section of the Constitution. Just a certain section. For example, let's go for the preamble. And in the preamble, there's a problematic sentence there. South Africa belongs to all who live in it, ... And as a result of that, South Africans have been shown flames by NGOs that represent illegal foreigners and so-called refugees in our country. As things stand, a person can walk into South Africa from a country that has no war, like Pakistan and Bangladesh. As long as they touch down on the South African soil and they go straight to the what do you call this, customs or whatever the case might be, and they say, I'm seeking for asylum, I'm being persecuted back home. How do you prove they are being persecuted? Whether politically, sexuality, or they facing a death sentence or something of that nature. And they come here for sanctuary. And because we have signed ourselves into another jail called international laws and treaties that work along with our Constitution. And I've grown up knowing that Cyril Ramaphosa is actually the champion of our Constitution. Allegedly, he's the one who was responsible in putting our Constitution together. Our former president, Jacob Zuma, his responsibility in the CODESA discussion and agreements, he was heading the negotiations together with Nelson Mandela. So when the United Nations and the Geneva Convention, they all came to South Africa with bunch of papers. What do you know about us and reading? And I'm talking us. What do you know us about reading? Yeah, exactly. And there's also even an essay, I don't know if it's where I grew up, that is said like that. If you want to hide something from a black man, you do what to it? Exactly. And you can even put it right here in the beginning, because that book will not be opened. There's even a story that I grew up listening to. It comes in different form. An old lady, or let's say it's a mom of 3 people. she passes away, but before she passes away, she gives her children according to their talents. She gives them according to their talents. One got $1 million because they are business oriented. The second one got the house and some other things because they are family oriented. And the last one was given a Bible. And he was so angry that he was given a Bible because he didn't understand. And for 25 years, he never opened the Bible until on his deathbed as an old man. Somebody said to him, I think it was a grandchild, said, "Hey, granddad, so that, you do well with God in heaven, read the Bible." He opens the Bible for finally 25 odd years after the mom died and drops a check. And it had money. That money was because when he was a youngster, he loved traveling. He liked to explore. And in his exploration, he would see opportunities to become a business owner. And he always talked about this. "Oh, I went here and I saw this. If I had so much money, I'll be able to open a business," and all that sort of stuff. Because we don't like reading. So when the Geneva Conventionists, the UN came and said, "Hey, can you go through this and then sign these treaties?" Do you think they read them? Do you think those people read and understood those treaties and international laws and the Geneva Convention of 1951? I don't think so. Because had they read it, they would have said, "Hang on a minute. But this in the future might put us into trouble." And the people that we were negotiating with, they said, "Great. At some point, we'll make far more money than we will be making in the new democracy, because the floodgates that we opened by signing these international treaties, we are going to get free labor or even cheap labor." What's happening today? Who benefits more between a South African as well as an illegal foreigner? South African comes with rights. And no employer wants this. They want to make maximum profit. And they're not going to make maximum profit with this. But what they love about this, it protects the people they are going to be exploiting and currently exploiting at the expense of South Africans who have the most sophisticated and progressive constitution in the world. And I said, changing or amending a section of the Constitution is going to be difficult. Why? Because one section of the Constitution is interconnected to the next, and 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 the next. The terminologies that are used in the preamble, you will find it also, or find those in the next section of the Constitution, or even can be interpreted into a section that does not even speak of that. And at the end of the day, when you're amending the Constitution, that means you're going to have to amend, basically change the entire guiding document. And no court in this country will allow a complete change of this Constitution. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So one of the advice from the lawyers that were advising them is that it's going to be very challenging. One that I disagreed with, but as I was thinking about it, I was like, they may have a point regarding that problematic sentence in the preamble that South Africa belongs to all who live in it. The lawyer said it is political. If there's a will or a political will, meaning parliament, they really want to change this sentence and say South Africa belongs to South African citizens, it has to be done by parliamentarians rather than a constitutional amendment. I thought it was a constitutional amendment. It requires constitutional amendment because it's in the Constitution. But she says, no, that is a political matter. So now, since we are the ones that send those people to parliament, then we need to bombard them, call them to town hall meetings. We have representatives. You have a representative in parliament that is allocated your constituency. You need to know who your constituency MP, because they do get allowance by parliament. Let me just put it this way so you understand. On Mondays and Fridays, members of parliament don't go to parliament. You know why they don't go to parliament? Because they're supposed to be with you. They're supposed to be with their constituencies. And they get plus or minus 500,000 rand per quarter. So that they reach you. They get free flight tickets to get to you, free petrol to get to you, free transportation to get to you. And the venue that they are going to use, they are paid for it by that allowance. They even have constituency officers, not officers, officers. Okay, I mean like OFFICE, not the R S at the end. They have constituency office. Each province, all those people that you see in parliament, they have constituency office. You, as a South African citizen, have the right to walk into that constituency office and say, I want to see my public representative. They don't come to the constituency offices, those people. I can tell you that, because they don't call town hall meetings so that you can say, hey, when you go to parliament, we want you to go and propose the change in this problematic preamble. But saying South Africa belongs to South African citizens, not belongs to all. Before you go to bed tonight, find out who is your member of parliament that is your constituency official. Start going to their offices in great numbers, storm those offices and say, go in parliament. They cannot say no to you. They're not allowed to. Because the will of the people is enshrined in the Constitution. It's funny and ironic and oxymoronic that this book is both our enemy at the same time. It works for us. Like that. Ramaphosa, you did your thing, Shem. That's why I'm finding myself in the position that I find myself like, oh my goodness, what was I hearing? What was I hearing? What was I hearing? Because every lawyer that made a presentation, they were advising against constitutional review. Every one of them were advising the Constitutional Review Committee against the amendment of the Constitution, meaning it needs to remain the same. Otherwise, if you took it to court, that means you're going to have to challenge every section that is in here, and no court in this country will allow that. Not the Constitutional Court, not the Supreme Court of Appeal, not a high court, not even a magistrate that has constitutional jurisdictions. They won't do that. And that's exactly the conversation we're having on Monday with the intellectuals that I shared with them. It did not sit well with them, with some of them. It didn't. And I didn't blame them. And then when it was said in this, whatever it was that was happening in Parliament, I was like, oh, I rest my case. I rest my case. So, again, I say it, guys. Mina, I'm going to repeat this. If I had the opportunity, because I do get asked this question sometimes, if you were given a day as the president of this country, what would you do? And I always say, I will burn it down to the ground and restart. By burning, of course, I don't mean literally. I'm using a metaphor here. I would proverbially burn it to the ground and restart so that this baby starts speaking for South Africans, no one else. Because right now, if you're not going to proverbially burn it to the ground, she remains. And more and more and more people will keep flocking here because we have this, we have international laws and conventions, treaties, you name them, that have tied us and our courts and the NGOs that are getting funded internationally to suppress South Africans and favor illegal foreigners and refugees and asylum seekers at our expense. Sometimes I do wish I was a dumb person. Just wake up in the morning and and just live. And just I think people who do that, they live a peaceful life. I think so. They don't go to bed thinking about this country. Their last thought when they fall asleep is not South Africa. Their first thought in the morning, it's not South Africa. Probably it's about that beer in the refrigerator. I don't know. I don't know. So that was my day today. That was my day today. And whew, I'm shook. And I'm not saying that the Constitution is not amendable. It is amendable. But it's going to require your power, which is still enshrined by the very Constitution we want changed. Can you imagine how those lawyers defended illegal foreigners, children going to school, public schools for free, healthcare, you name it? It was hilarious. Not. Anyways, let me know what your thoughts are. If you watched it, let me know, what did you think? How did you feel? I know a lot of people were angry. Oh, a lot of people were angry because I was reading the comments in that session. Some people were quitting. They said, I am not listening to this anymore. The powerlessness people were feeling with so much power invested in them by the Constitution. I've said it. Politics, we need to remove it out of our vocabulary, out of our society, and out of our bodies. And I'm talking the entities that's supposed to serve us. We now need to go for South Africans that will put South Africans first. People that will not be afraid to challenge the Constitution through strict development of policies where they are unapologetic about South Africans being put first. Being put first, period. Politicians will not do that. Politicians will not do that. We only need us, ourselves, and be quite radical about the changes we want to see. This is our country. Nobody can tell us what to do with our country. When I say I'll burn it to the ground, I would remove South Africa in each and every one of these conventions, treaties, and all of that in one day. If you want to sanction, we've been sanctioned before and we kept our heads above the water. What matters is that South Africans will be put first. Yes, we will. Anyways, let me leave the video here. Sorry for depressing you on a Friday evening, but hey, if I don't do it, who will? You're welcome. I love you all. Defend this country with everything you got, but take care of yourself. Goodbye.